funny moment in my career that I can think of is I got booked to do a gig and I had to sign a non-disclosure form, which happens, you know, often. It's cool. So I signed it and I didn't realise that it was already signed by Chris Martin from Coldplay. So I never realised. And then I got to the gig and then realised it was for Gwyneth Paltrow, who was his wife at the time. It was for her 40th birthday. So I get there and I'm like, whoa. And it's in France somewhere, like in the middle of nowhere, like at the Cap Hotel. It's an amazing place. And I literally walk into the room, a room full of the most famous people I've ever seen in my life. Like, I'm talking like Bono and like, you know, Coldplay, U2, like every major actor you can think of. And this is like in a tiny little room at the hotel in France. He comes up to me and he's like, hey, do you want some weed? And I'm like, no, I don't smoke weed. And he's like, oh, but well, I got it from Lady Gaga last night and I just thought maybe, you know, you want to try it? And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I can't do that. And he's like, cool, all right. Goes off with his bag of Lady Gaga's weed. And that was it, you know. And he had a great time and everyone else did as well, I'm sure. So a funny moment that I can remember is when I was getting ready to DJ at Coachella, and one of my friends knew Mario, the singer, and decides to bring him to my villa before, you know, while I'm getting ready and stuff, right? So he comes to my villa and I get out of the shower and Mario's standing there and I'm like, this is awkward. And then it was cool, like we hung out or whatever. But I didn't realise that he thought that he was coming with me to the gig. So I had like a SUV that was, you know, ready for me, but it could only fit the people that were in the room with me that I thought were coming. So it comes time to go. My agent is like, you have to be on time. Make sure you get there on time, whatever. So I'm like, okay, cool. We gotta go. Everyone gets in the car. And then it's like Mario and his girlfriend, like kind of just standing there. And I was like, sorry, dude, like, you might have to get another car. And he's like, oh, okay, that's cool. He's like, could you just drive me around to the front gates or whatever? And I'm like, we're all looking at each other in the car like, but how? Where are you gonna sit? Because there's literally, the car's like packed. And he's like, oh, it's cool. I'll just hang on the side of the car. And I'm like, this guy thinks he's Secret Service. He wants to hang on to the side of the car while the driver drives him around to the gate. And he thought it was completely normal to suggest that. So the driver's like, nah, dude, you can't hang on to the side of the car. So anyway, he ends up walking to the gate. We drive off and then I'm like, oh, I've forgotten like a pass or something. So we had to go back. And like, it was already awkward enough that we had to leave him once, but then we go back, we get the pass, and then we had to leave him again, and it was so awkward. And I feel really bad. I'm really sorry, Mario, that happened, and I didn't mean it. I just found it funny, like, if it was like Usher, then you know, you wouldn't think it's like crazy, but Mario, like, of all people, is like, yeah, no, it's cool. Oh, so then the next day, like, after all of that awkwardness, I see him, so like we went hiking the next day in the mountains, right? Like, you know, in Palm Springs, there's, you know, amazing mountains or whatever. So we decide we're gonna go hiking. So we go hiking and my friend is with me and she's like, I gotta tell you something. And I'm like, what? And she's like, Mario's coming. And I'm like, Mario's coming hiking with me as well? This is so awkward. So then we're like up in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere, in the mountains, trees everywhere, whatever, nature is amazing. And then I look behind me and Mario's coming down the hill. I'm like, oh my God, this is so awkward. And this is the day after my gig. So there was like that awkward like thing of like, sorry, you couldn't come in the car with me, because he also didn't get into the gig as well. So that made it worse. So he didn't get into the party that he thought he was coming with me, and we also left him twice, and then he turns up hiking in a mountain, and I have to like talk to him, and it's really awkward, and yeah, it's just a horrible feeling. Mario's like he's just a really lovely guy, and he's just like really down to earth. So that's why I felt really bad that I had to leave him twice. Twice in the space of half an hour. Oh my god. And then we left him in the mountain as well. So we're not sure if Mario ever left the mountain. He could still be in the mountain, we don't know.